I think there is a lot of opportunities to reach happiness through public policies. Essentially, I think policy and politics. The ultimate goal of that is to, create and enhance a quality of life. I think the first initial step is to recognize the validity and the seriousness of happiness studies and happiness surveys, and use them to create a diagnosis of the main challenges that each given society faces. Well, earlier this year, we did a study on why Denmark do really well when it comes to happiness surveys. Denmark is usually at the top of the list in the World Happiness Reports and so on. And we found there was a range of reasons why Denmark do well, and something that maybe you can get some inspiration from. First and foremost, it's about reducing extreme unhappiness. I mean, that's the quickest way to elevate your national average or your local average. One of the other reasons we looked at was having, of course, a sense of security is essential for people, not just in terms of physical security, but also financial security. But we also looked at elements of trust, a well-functioning civil society, well-functioning democracy, low level of corruption, trust towards neighbors, politicians, the judiciary system, and so on. So I think there is a wide set of indicators and issues that should be addressed. Well, I think it's great that we have a multiple approach and that we understand that quality of life and happiness and well-being are a lot of different things. And I think each approach, each method brings us additional knowledge of how different factors play influence on well-being. And I think policymakers can use those different methods to have a better sense of whether society is moving in the right direction. Earlier we've only mainly looked at GDP per capita, so wealth, in terms of saying whether the society is going in the right direction. And we shouldn't replace that, but we should supplement that with additional indicators that are subjective in their nature, where we ask people how they perceive their lives, whether they're happy with the situation and their place in society. A think tank is basically an intermediary between academia and the policy arena, but also between civil society and business. So we try to get those four worlds to talk to each other. So we take, for example, some of the knowledge that is being created in the academic world, and we look at those data, those findings, and we interpret them for policymakers. For example, when happiness researchers find what are the main mechanics of happiness, how should we then design our society, how should we design our policies to enable or to increase quality of life among citizens? I don't think you need a specific formula. Of course, there are circumstances where it is better to create a think tank where you have a policy system or a political system which is open to recommendations from institutions from without the political system. But I mean, it would be also an opportunity for a think tank, I think, in Jalisco to move in this arena also. We do know that there is a link between wealth and happiness. We can see on average richer nations are on average happier. But there is also a saturation point, meaning that at one point, both when it comes to nations and individual levels, that additional wealth won't matter that much. After you reach a sort of certain level where your basic needs are met and a bit more, there is other factors that has a far bigger influence on our quality of life than additional wealth. So wealth and quality of life or happiness is linked, but it shouldn't be understood such as that wealth or money is a guarantee for happiness. It's the other way around, that being without money or being without income can be a source of unhappiness. But once we sort of elevate from that position, there is other factors that has a bigger influence. Well, what we saw in Denmark, in some of the more affluent municipalities, is that one of the prime predictors of whether people are happy or not is whether they are happy with their relationships, whether they feel part of a sort of social circle, whether they feel that they have somebody in their network they can rely on in terms of need, in times of need, or whether they have somebody they can discuss personal, intimate matters with. Those are more predictive factors.